Good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagriti Classes. We were discussing chapter 6, that is your chapter of biology. So we'll continue our chapter, and this is for class 9th. So chapter 6 is tissues. In the introductory videos, we have already discussed what do you understand by the term tissues. Then also I have provided you with a flow chart, that is different tissues found in plants and animals. And the first kind of tissue which were present in plant was meristematic tissues. What do you mean by the term meristematic? Those tissues which comprise of a group of cells which continuously divide. That is, the tissues having the ability to divide continuously are called meristematic tissues. So now we will be discussing the next part, that is permanent tissues. So what do you mean by the term permanent? I have classified plant tissues into two different subcategories, that is meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. And we have studied the different types of meristematic tissues, apical, lateral and intercalary. And these categories were based on, that is their classification was done on the basis of location where the meristematic tissue is present. So now you have our next category of plant tissues, that is permanent tissues. And permanent, why they are referred as or named as permanent? Because unlike meristematic tissues, these tissues do not show division power. They are mature form of tissues, you can say. Mature means now they have lost their capacity of dividing and they are just performing a particular function. So we call them permanent or mature. Now these permanent tissues can again be further divided, or else I'll write it down again that permanent tissues are the tissues which have lost their ability to divide. And hence we can also refer to them as mature tissues. Next, these permanent tissues can be classified into two categories. The two categories, if you remember, yes, very good. The first one was simple permanent tissues and the next were complex permanent tissues. Now can you tell me, if you have gone through the previous video lecture, what do you mean by simple and complex? I have told you whenever I was drawing that flow chart of tissues. Correct. Simple tissues means they are made up of a single type of cell. Okay, then I have pointed out in that time also that they are made up of single type of cell. Please do not skip the word type. Somewhere the students also say that simple tissues, they are made up of one cell. No, or they are made up of single cell. No, that would be incorrect, because if you have only a single cell, then how you can call them as tissues? Because we know, as per the definition, tissues are a group of cells. The simple definition of tissues would be, it is a group of cells. And if you write it completely, which perform a specific function and which have a particular shape. So these simple tissues are what? These simple tissues are made up of only a single type of cell. Now when we will discuss these simple tissues today, you will get to know them. And complex means they are made up of more than one type of cell or more than a single type of cell. So this is what you understand by the term complex here. Now next, further classifying, we get three types of simple tissues, that is your parenchyma, then comes collenchyma, and then comes your sclerenchyma. So these are the three types of simple permanent tissues present in your plants. So if you are asked, name three simple permanent tissues found in plants, then you would call them parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. If you have asked, what do you understand by the term complex, then you would say complex permanent tissues are the tissues. Complex means they are made up of more than one type of cell Permanent means they do not have any ability to divide further. Okay, that is, they are mature. So please, I want everyone, each one of you, to understand every single term which we are using in their naming. These were simple permanent, and the next is complex permanent. Now these complex permanent tissues can be divided into two categories. The first one is your xylem and the next one is your phloem. So I already told you that how we'll be starting or studying this chapter. Firstly, you should know what do you understand by the name of the chapter, that is tissues. Then I classified your chapter into two different parts. First we'll study all kinds of plant tissue and next we'll study all kinds of animal tissues. So for plant tissues, you have two parts. One is your permanent and the first one which we discussed was meristematic. This has been already discussed in the previous video lecture. So if you have any doubt, you can watch first that meristematic tissues. And these meristematic tissues, they had the ability to divide. These were of three kinds, which is on the basis of position or location where these meristematic tissues are located. So you had three types of meristematic tissue: apical, intercalary and lateral. Apical, which are present on the apex, on the tips. So these are found on the root and shoot tips, and these helps in the elongation of length. Then next you have intercalary. These are present at the internodes. I have already discussed what do you mean by nodes, internodes. And these are also present at the base of leaf. Then you had lateral. Lateral tissues, they were present at the sides, lateral boundaries of the plant, and these helps in the elongation of width, or you may say girth of the plant. So these were already discussed in the previous class. Today we will be starting the simple permanent tissues. So let's start this. So the topic of today's class would be simple permanent tissues. Now simple permanent, as we already discussed, can you define what do you mean by simple permanent tissues now? I hope each one of you can very easily do this work. Okay, for the definition we have tissues, the category of tissues which are made up of only a single type of cell, which are made up of single types of cells, and they do not exhibit. First I have written in the definition the meaning of the word simple. Now I am writing what I understand by the term permanent tissues. And they do not exhibit any division ability. So this forms your definition of simple permanent tissues. Now next we have types of simple permanent tissues. So I am writing types of simple permanent tissues, okay, SPT. I am writing simple permanent tissues in a shorter way. So you have three basic types of simple permanent tissues. The first one will be your parenchyma. The next comes collenchyma, and the next or the last one is your sclerenchyma. And you should know some 2 to 3 points about them. That is, and you can also see their diagram which is given in your books. Okay, in this first tissue, that is parenchyma, in certain conditions which we will be seeing when we deal in detail with the tissue, we also call it as chlorenchyma. This parenchyma is itself known as chlorenchyma. We will discuss when do you call this parenchyma to be chlorenchyma. And this is also known as, and this is also referred as arenchyma. So this also we will be seeing when this parenchyma is referred as arenchyma. So this is summary of this, that is simple permanent tissue. We have three kinds of simple permanent tissue. First one is your parenchyma, next is collenchyma, and in the last we have sclerenchyma. Then next is what? A question frequently comes in examination. Let me write here. A question comes, differentiate between chlorenchyma and collenchyma. And frequently mistakes are made by the students in answering this question. So I am telling the question previously before starting because I want you all to please be focused and study both these tissues in detail with me, okay? And I want your concept should be cleared because this chlorenchyma is a part of parenchyma and collenchyma is next category of this or next type of the permanent tissue. So let's start our discussion. Firstly, we'll be dealing with parenchyma. Before starting this, you also have two types of diagrams given in your NCERT. If you open your NCERT textbooks, then you have the diagrams of all these three permanent tissues, that is of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Please open your textbooks. Yes. Now, if you carefully watch and if you follow the label of this diagram, it is written that first three diagrams are the transverse section and the next remaining three are the longitudinal section. What I am trying to say is, for example, we are discussing parenchyma here. So for parenchyma, you have two diagrams given in your books. One says, the first diagram, that is the diagrams of parenchyma. One would be the transverse section and the next diagram which is given, it is the longitudinal section. And both these diagrams are very different in appearance. So what do you understand by this? Transverse and longitudinal section. Let's see. If I am given this marker and if I want a transverse section, transverse means how I'll cut out if this is my given sample and I want to observe that how its transverse sections looks like. Then what I'll do is I'll take a thin sample, I'll take a thin piece of this sample. I'll take my cutter, blade or knife and I cut my sample in this manner. That is perpendicular to the length. Length of the sample is from left to right, then I'll cut from up to down. So this would be a perpendicular cut. You can see that if this is my blade through which I am cutting, this blade makes an angle of 90 degree with your length of the sample. So transverse means if this is your sample, then you make the cut in this way. That is, this is your cutting line. So the angle of your knife or blade with this sample is 90 degree. So whenever you make this kind of cut, what the section you get is called transverse section. And longitudinal means along the length. That is, if I cut my marker pen or the sample in this manner, then I'll get a longitudinal section. So longitudinal means if this is your sample, a cylindrical sample you have, then you make the cut in this manner, okay? You are cutting from its length along its length. So this is referred to as your longitudinal section LS, and the above one is often referred as TS. This is very important when we do our laboratory works. So this is what is given in the diagrams. Once the parenchymatous tissue to be observed, the sample is cut in a transverse manner and in the next attempt it is cut in a longitudinal manner so that you can see the different arrangement of the cells. So what you have here is, if I cut a transverse section of this cylindrical sample, what piece would I observe? If this is my cylindrical sample, assume it to be cylindrical, and if I cut in this manner, then I would get a small circular sample. That is, as you can see here, if this would be cylindrical and I cut a very thin slice, then I would get a small circular section. So the sample obtained on cutting transversely would be a small circle. Whereas if I cut a longitudinal section, what kind of section do I get? See, I would get this section, and this is approximately a rectangular section. So while observing this longitudinal sample, I would get a rectangular section compared to the transverse. If I cut transversely my sample, then the section I observe is circular. So you can see the difference between these two sections. So accordingly, whenever the plant sample is taken and it is made, a transverse cut or a longitudinal cut is made, you obtain different samples. So two different diagrams are being made in your books for transverse and longitudinal section. Now we'll study about this parenchyma. So the first point would be, it is a simple permanent tissue found in plants. Okay, according to the flow chart also, you should know we are dealing with plant tissues. So it is found in plants and it is a kind of simple permanent tissues. The next point is what? It contains cells generally spherical in shape. That is, the cells which comprise parenchymatous tissue are generally spherical in shape, or you can say not exactly spherical, so that you can also write they are roughly spherical in shape. Okay, they do not have any fixed dimensions, but we can say they are roughly round, circular or spherical. Then the next you have that the parenchymatous cells, they are very loosely packed. So these cells which comprise our parenchyma, these cells are loosely packed. Then you can also make a conclusion point from your third point. If the cells are loosely packed, it means there would be presence of intercellular spaces between the cells. So we can say that many or large amount, I should write, large amount of intercellular spaces is present between the cells. So this would be your next point, that is these are not having any definite shape, they are roughly spherical, then these cells are very loosely packed. In turn, they will have large amount of intercellular space. What do you mean by intercellular space? Inter means in between, cellular means cell. So the space between two cells is called intercellular space. Okay, if I make a diagrammatic representation of parenchymatous tissue, let's suppose this is your section of the given sample, then these parenchymatous tissues are present in the form of circles, and you can see you have much intercellular spaces between the cells. So this would be a rough diagrammatic sketch of parenchymatous tissue. So you can see that much amount of intercellular spaces is present. Okay, these are your intercellular space. That is the space, the empty space between two cells. Between these cells you have this intercellular space. So this is a rough sketch of parenchyma. Then we'll study about the functions of parenchyma now. What are the functions of this parenchymatous tissue? So it provides, or we can simply write this function, that is, it helps in the storage of food. It works as a storehouse of food. We can say that it serves or works as a storehouse of food. Okay, Then the next point you have that these are living cells. It is made up of living cells. That is, living cell means all these cells possess their nucleus and cytoplasmic matter. Okay? So in turn they are called living cells. Then the next you have that it also provides some sort of support to the plant. It provides support to the plant. The next point which we can include as a function would be it also gives some sort of mechanical strength. Okay, this would be involved in this only, that it provides support. You can say that it provides mechanical strength to the plants. Now we'll be discussing, as I told you in the previous slide, that this parenchyma is also named as arenchyma and chlorenchyma under different circumstances. So let's study these circumstances. Okay? When this parenchyma cells contain chlorophyll in them, then they are called chlorenchyma, and this chlorenchyma functions in the process of photosynthesis. Then you can write, when the parenchymatous cells, when these parenchymatous cells accommodate chlorophyll in them, then these cells, then these are referred to as chlorenchyma. So remember the word chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma means when the cells of parenchyma possess chlorophyll in them. In turn, these are called as chlorenchyma. Okay? When the parenchymatous cells accommodate the green pigment chlorophyll, then these are called chlorenchyma. Then these are called as chlorenchyma. So chlorine means having chlorophyll in your parenchymatous cells. And this chlorenchyma, what would be the function of chlorenchyma? Chlorenchyma helps in the process of photosynthesis. This also, the process of photosynthesis, we discussed in our previous video lecture. Now next, we also had one more term for parenchyma, that was arenchyma. So this parenchyma, when this is present in aquatic plants, then what does this parenchyma do? It empties itself, that is, it do not act as any storehouse of food. It attains air cavities inside the cells. That is, the presence of air is observed inside these parenchymatous cells, and hence they become arenchyma. So these cells, that is arenchyma, helps in providing buoyancy to your aquatic plants. Buoyancy means the capacity to float on water surface. So now we are writing the same which I explained you now. When air cavities are present, when air cavities are present in parenchymatous cells or parenchyma, then it is known as, then this is known as arenchyma. And these arenchyma, these are generally present in aquatic plants, because aquatic plants only need the capacity to float. So these are present in aquatic plants and they help to provide buoyancy, and they help to provide buoyancy to the plants, which helps them float easily. So this is the function of parenchyma. So if you are asked, like in exams you get a short question, what do you mean by parenchyma? Then this would be the answer. And this is enough. We have included every important aspect which should be there in your answer. When air cavities are present in parenchyma, so you have seen that which simple permanent tissue behaves as parenchyma? Your parenchymatous tissue behaves as parenchyma. So when in parenchyma we have the presence of these air cavities, that is empty spaces filled with air, okay? So then it is known as parenchyma. Where these are generally found? Parenchyma is present in aquatic plants. What do they provide? They provide buoyancy to the plant. What do you mean by the term buoyancy then? That is the ability to float. So this completes your answer about what do you mean by parenchyma. So this was a note about your first simple permanent tissue, that was parenchyma. Now with these points, we have written all the structural properties and all the functions, okay, and then two terms, parenchyma and chlorenchyma. So this is maximum enough. With this you have to just include two diagrams given in your textbooks, that is the longitudinal section and the transverse section, one of which I have drawn, and the next you have to draw. So this would complete a brief or a detailed description about the simple permanent tissue parenchyma. You can see, and if you have any kind of doubt you can ask, okay? Then we'll start up with our next permanent tissue, that would be your chlorenchymatous tissue, or no, sorry, it would be chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma we have already discussed. Chlorenchyma was the modification of parenchyma. So now we'll be doing chlorenchyma. What do you mean by chlorenchyma? Where chlorenchyma is present? What are the functions of chlorenchyma? Okay? So we'll be starting, then we'll be doing sclerenchyma. That is your next permanent tissue, next simple permanent tissue. Okay, let's start our next permanent tissue, that is chlorenchyma. So firstly, as we have seen in parenchyma, parenchymatous cells were not having any definite shape, but this chlorenchyma possesses some definite structural features, that is, it has a geometrical shape. So the first point would be this chlorenchyma. You can write this is again your simple permanent tissue present in plants. The first point would be the same as parenchyma. Next you can write it has very less, or firstly we'll write its structural properties. Then it has certain geometrical structure. You can also see this in the diagram which is given, that is the transverse section has certain hexagonal structures. So we are saying that chlorenchyma possesses certain geometrical structures. Then the next point would be, unlike parenchyma, parenchyma was very loosely bound, very loosely packed, and in turn it had intercellular spaces. But this has very less intercellular spaces. Okay? And the cells are irregular, okay? It may be said that they contain certain geometrical structure. These are irregularly packed. There is no definite arrangement for the packaging of these cells. So these cells are irregularly packed. Then we can say, similar to parenchyma, this collenchyma also consists of living cells. That is, all the cells of collenchyma has their nuclear and cytoplasmic material. It consists of living cell. Then the next point, which would describe its functions. The function of collenchyma, it provides flexibility to the plants. So we say that this collenchyma is present in stems, that is the younger stems, okay, the newly emerged stems and branches, and it is also present in leaves. And in turn, the function of this collenchyma is to provide flexibility. It provides flexibility to the plant parts wherever it is present. So this is an important function, that is, which tissue is responsible for providing flexibility? Collenchyma. Collenchyma, which is your simple permanent tissues, which is present in younger branches, stems and leaves, it provides flexibility to your plant parts. Then the next one would be that collenchyma, it is providing flexibility, that is, it gives the part the power to bend easily without breaking. So we can write collenchyma ensures easy bending of plant parts wherever this tissue is present. We are talking about that parts. So it ensures easy bending of the plant parts wherever it is present without breaking. So this was your account for collenchyma. Collenchyma has certain geometrical structures, or you can also say that somewhere they are found to be geometrical. In some plants they possess certain hexagonal structures, but in other plants they are not geometrical, they do not possess any fixed shape. So in turn, I think you should modify this point, because somewhere the collenchyma may have definite structures, but in most of the plant it is not having any fixed shape. So we can write it has indefinite structure generally. And I have told you, you can also include that in some cases it may have a fixed geometrical shapes. So it has both properties. It has indefinite structure generally, and in some cases it is observed with a definite geometrical shape. Okay? Then we can say we missed a point in parenchyma. Let's see. I am writing the 11th point. We have written that these are living cells, and these parenchyma cells, these parenchyma have very thin cell walls. Okay? They have thin cell walls. That is, as we made the diagram, we made a very thin cell wall, this which the cell was covered with. Now coming on to the next. The last point which you can include here is collenchyma has the deposition of certain sample things on its corners. That is, collenchyma are irregularly thickened at the corners. So if I try to explain you this point, making an rough sketch, then you can see in your books certain this kind of cells of collenchyma are being made. Okay? These are a type of hexagonal cells. So this structure is given of collenchyma. Then what is given next is let's suppose this is the outer covering of collenchyma, then it would be narrow or thin everywhere except at the corners. That is, at the corners you will have deposition of chemical substance, and this would give you thin corners. So we can say that it is irregularly thickened at the corners. So this was whole account of your collenchymatous cells or collenchyma, which is yet another simple permanent tissues for plants. Okay, now you have to include what? You have to include two diagrams which are given in your textbooks about collenchyma. That is the transverse section and the longitudinal section. This is given on page number 71 of your NCERT textbooks. Okay, the diagram B, B1 and B2 are for collenchyma. So I hope you will draw this and you can write all the points that it provides flexibility, it has less intercellular spaces, it is thickened at the corners, it has very less intercellular spaces. And it is also living. It comprises of living cells. Then we'll discuss our next permanent tissue, which would be sclerenchyma. Please go through the slide, read all the points so that you understand, and then we'll move on to the next tissue, that is sclerenchyma. Okay, now we'll do our next and the last simple permanent tissues present in plants, which would be sclerenchyma. So, what is sclerenchyma? Sclerenchyma is, again, the first point would be simple permanent tissue found in plants. Then we'll start that this sclerenchyma, it consists of dead cells, okay? So both which we discussed previously, they both were made up of living cells. But this sclerenchyma, it comprises of dead cells. Then the second point here would be the cells are usually elongated. That is, cells of sclerenchymatous tissue are usually elongated in shape. Then because the cells are dead here implies that they do not contain any kind of nucleus and cytoplasmic material or nucleus in them. So we say that its major function would be, or example of sclerenchymatous tissue if we talk of, then the common example is husk of coconut. And then this becomes an important question also, which you frequently get in exams. Which kind of simple permanent tissue is present in husk of coconut? And the answer would be sclerenchyma. Sclerenchymatous tissue is present in husk of coconut. What do you mean by husk of coconut? Have you seen the fibers which are present on the outer surface of coconut? Okay, so these are what? Sclerenchymatous tissue. Then you can also say the cells are usually elongated in shape. They may be present, they may be usually, they may be seen in fibrous forms. Okay, these cells are generally present in fibrous forms. Then the next you have that what is the main function? It has the function to give mechanical strength and rigidity to your plant. So these sclerenchymatous tissues or these cells provide mechanical rigidity or you can say strength. They provide mechanical strength to the plant. Collenchyma was responsible for providing what? Flexibility. And these provide rigidity or strength to your plant. And the major function of parenchyma is to act as a storehouse of food or storehouse of nutrients. So these are the major functions. These provide mechanical strength or rigidity to the plant. Then because of this strength or support, they help the plant to face all the adverse circumstances or adverse conditions like the natural calamities. So this sclerenchyma helps the plant to survive under natural calamities and other sorts of injuries. Then this was an account of sclerenchyma. Okay, these consist of dead cells. The cells are generally elongated in shape. Example of sclerenchyma is husk of coconut. Then you say that these may be seen in fibrous forms as present in the husk of coconut. Then these cells provide the plant with mechanical rigidity or strength and support, and they help the plant to survive under adverse condition. The adverse condition may be natural calamities or different injuries. So we have completed with our simple permanent tissues found in plants. In the next video, we will be dealing with the next kind, that is the complex permanent tissue, xylem and phloem present in plants, and then we will also deal some of the points which we left under the process of photosynthesis. So this would complete half of your chapter about plant tissues. So thank you for joining the class today. Stay home, stay safe.